When you're pedaling so hard and you don't know where your purpose is, that's when burnout, I believe, starts to happen. Because you might be committed to the organisation and you're a committed hard worker, but if you don't know where your end result is or where your purpose is or who you are as a person and what you want to leave as a legacy, that's when burnout starts to happen, because you've got that push and pull factor.
You're listening to the 9 to 5 podcast, where we speak to the most inspiring entrepreneurs of Australia. I'm your host, Alex Whiteside, the CEO of EasyCompanies. Running your own business can be quite daunting and scary. We're here to show you how to face those fears and help you build your dream today. We listen to the innovators, the game changers, and the thought leaders who have built their startups from the ground up. Hear what makes them tick, how they've overcome their own failures, and be inspired to take your own leap of faith and ignite your passion for business. So on today's show, we have Luke Cook from FUNLOCKA. He has a very interesting story to tell. So he's built a client and employee engagement app designed to create unique experiences. And yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to us on the podcast app you're listening on, or if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and go check us out on Facebook, EasyCompanies. Hope you enjoy the show. All right, well, welcome to the show, Luke.
Thanks, Alex.
So 9 to 5 podcast. Now, look, I think it'd be great to understand a little bit about what FUNLOCKA does as a business, and where did the idea come from?
Yeah, so FUNLOCKA was born based around a need that we wanted to help people live a happy, healthy and wealthy life. And so what we created is a new tool for businesses to be able to recognise and reward with meaning, based around the life, interests, hobbies and desires of each one of their people, and reward based on certain behaviours that the company wants to instill into an organisation. So very much focused on recognition reward and making companies ensure that they have a really happy, healthy and wealthy workforce.
Yeah, nice. So really getting into client engagement, employee engagement, and setting up experiences for that.
100%. It's the biggest thing, right? Because if you've got an engaged workforce, the rest of the money will come from them interacting with their clients, them talking positively about your business outside of the workplace.
Yeah, nice.
Because that's one of the things right now is the engaged workforce. People aren't staying in their organisations as long as what companies hope for. So a lot of companies spend a lot of money on recruitment, and then you missed out on the missed productivity as well. So when you don't have those people staying there longer, you miss out on those.
Time to become a recruitment company, right?
Never. LinkedIn's there, isn't it?
Yeah, true. So let's backtrack. So what got you into being an entrepreneur? What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Yeah, well, so I was very dramatic at school. So I was always in those sort of drama classes, etc. So my first ever career that I ever wanted to do was become an actor, believe it or not. I was always the one that was the MC on the stage and would lead anything to do with that in the school environment. Naturally from there it progressed that I started getting an interest in radio. I did a radio course at college and I sort of thought that I wanted to get into that field, and I was lucky enough to score my first ever job at a radio station. Yeah, my nickname was Lightning Luke, mate. I was the driver for the Classic Hits Cruiser for 2WS, and I used to go around to locations with icy cold cans of Coke and do live crosses back to the radio station, and that's where my first career started. And I always liked starting there because my first ever job was about making people happy. Yeah, and that was my core responsibility, and I loved it. I was getting paid like 17 grand a year, so the money wasn't good, but I was really happy at that point.
So you were the fun guy they patch in during the classic music and...
Yeah, mate, I was the one that they crossed to. There would be the high energy. This is Lightning Luke on the streets of Sydney, handing out free cans of Coke.
Like the chopper on the TV, right?
Yeah, like Vic LaRusso. A mate of mine, actually. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get into that in another story. But
that's good.
So that was my core purpose, and that's what I was hired for, and that's when I fell in love with about making people happy, and which is where I've got to today.
Yeah, it's awesome. So then, you said before you started FUNLOCKA, you took 3 months off to...
So the career was interesting, right? Yeah. Like I started off as Lightning Luke. I then moved into the promotions role of a radio station. So my first ever role in promotions after I left doing the on-air stuff was coming up with ideas. So whenever a client would brief us or brief the radio station on an idea, that's where it would come to my division to be able to come up with those ideas that our clients could then execute for customer campaigns. Fast track a few years, 3 or 4 years, I became Sydney promotions director of both radio stations, Classic Hits and Mix. Went overseas, worked over in the UK at a radio station over there called Essex FM. First ever job was to judge Essex Babes competition. Now, if you ever ask a Pommy guy about Essex, it was interesting. Then came back as national promotions director. So very much ideation focused. But
very, very into radio.
Very radio, but very, very thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Like I used to get maybe 15 briefs a week. And each one of those briefs, I had to think about a unique idea. Yeah. So very ideation focused in that whole approach. After I was national promotions director, I got sick and tired of giving my ideas to salespeople to sell, because that's the way that the process worked. So I thought, well, I want to give a crack at sales. So I moved into the sales part of a media organisation called MCM Media. It was a great company. We did a lot in the live music space as well. But as that company grew, I naturally got progressed through the ranks. And then all of a sudden I became a sales director of a media organisation. And that's where I sort of lost a little bit of my soul. And why do I say that? It had nothing to do with the company, had nothing to do with the progression. But what I lacked was I didn't know where my vision was going, and I didn't know where my end goal was. So then all of a sudden it became more about money than happiness. I was earning a massive 6-figure salary, but I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. And I played that role for a number of years, not being happy, until I reached a point where, I'll admit it was burnout.
Yeah, burnout.
I just wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I didn't know where I was heading. I didn't know where I was going. And it actually took a really good mate of mine, Hodgie, to make me realise. He gave me the biggest serve over the phone that I've ever had a mate tell me. Like when I say biggest serve, there was...
What was that like?
It was confronting. But he was listening to me rambling for a number of months. And he goes, mate, I'm over your fucking comments. In all honesty, you need to sort your stuff out. You need to stop. Don't worry about your mortgage. Don't worry about any of that type of stuff. That stuff will sort itself out once you understand who you are and where your purpose is. And that's when it really gave me that biggest shock, is to say, well, I actually don't know. I don't know. And that next week, I stopped work. I took 3 months off. I didn't know how long, by the way. I didn't know if it was going to be 1 month. I didn't know if it was going to be 6. I didn't have another job to go to.
You just knew that the job wasn't what you wanted to do. So in a way, at least you knew some direction, right?
I knew that I needed to make a change.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what that change was.
Yeah, or where it was going to take you.
Or where it was. But what I realised is that I never gave myself time to think.
Yeah.
Because when you're a sales director, you're only as good as your next month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're always pushing for that next sale. You're pushing your team for that next sale. You're managing 20, 30 odd people. That I never stopped.
Yeah.
And so what I called that period was recharge to take charge. You know, stop, Luke. Sort out your life part of you first, because I treated work like a hobby.
Yeah.
So when I wasn't happy in my hobby anymore, I had nothing else to fall back on.
Yeah, that's true.
So I worked out a little bit more about my life moments. So I started doing meditation every morning. I started exercising. I started to get a little bit more of my ground back, my base.
The grounding,
yeah. And then I started thinking about, well, what's next in career? And then that's when the process started to evolve.
That's awesome. So it's like you were kind of just working so hard on this job, you didn't have time to kind of stop and think, is this what I actually want to do?
We get caught in our own bubbles, and we get caught in our own mouse wheels.
Yeah.
And when you're pedaling so hard and you don't know where your purpose is, that's when burnout, I believe, starts to happen. Because you might be committed to the organisation and you're a committed hard worker, but if you don't know where your end result is, or where your purpose is, or who you are as a person and what you want to leave as a legacy, that's when burnout starts to happen, because you've got that push and pull factor. Nothing's pulling you to that end result. But you keep on pushing yourself. You're pushing.
Because like, if I don't know what to do, then at least do something.
Yeah.
And then you're churning butter for nothing.
Exactly.
Like,
and that's where that sort of biggest shock came. And don't get me wrong, my now wife was telling me to stop. Some of my other friends were telling me to stop, but it took someone that I truly respected in business, and one of my best mates. It was only when he said it that it made me realise that, Luke, you need to stop.
Yeah.
You need to sort your shit out. You're not.
Love it.
You're not.
That's
You're
awesome.
not you. You're not you.
Yeah.
And it's hard, right? Like I'm in startup journey now, right?
Yeah.
It's freaking difficult, but I know where my purpose is and I know where my vision
You're
is.
aligned with that.
I'm
So
aligned
it's not burnout anymore because
it's not burnout anymore because it's pulling me towards it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to push shit up a hill.
So the effort that you're putting in, it's all for the right vision and mission. Like you've got the direction there.
100%.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that's how you describe burnout then? That's
I would. Yeah. I would. And there's a difference, right? Burnout leads to other areas of mental health, depression and stuff like that, which, I was there as well because I reached burnout. But this is the biggest thing that I'm seeing and being spoken about in businesses right now with my clients and other clients that we're looking to get on board is burnout's the biggest problem inside organizations right now to keep their people healthy.
Yeah. And you feel, is FUNLOCKA out there to kind of solve that?
We're not the silver bullet,
no,
right?
Of course.
But what we're different compared to every other platform out there is we're personalized to each user. So the way FUNLOCKA works is once you're on board FUNLOCKA across all your employees, we build real-time understanding around who that person is and what they love in life. Yeah. So
it's individualized, is it?
100%. It's totally personalized.
So these aren't group
not just
events
group.
particularly.
No. So what happens is a company onboards FUNLOCKA's app across all their employees. That first usage by the employee is they get asked a simple question. What do you love in life? Like outside of work? What do you love in life? Do you like music? Do you like sport? Do you like health and fitness? Do you like personal development? Do you like inspirational speakers? Do you like giving back in charity? So we find a basic data pool there. But then every time that user or the employee comes back in, we hit them with 3 experiences. And like Tinder, they say yes or no. Yeah. So when they say yes or no, we learn real-time data around them that we personalize their app based around what their interests are. And then that company gets access to that data so they understand, okay, Luke Cook, he likes the Parramatta Reels or he likes fine dining experiences. So let's reward him in life with things that he actually cares about. Now, the reason we're going down that personalization route is because I surveyed 300 people when I took that 3 months off, right? And I was trying to work out what I want to do next, yeah? 2 things happened. One, I'm going to come back to this. It's just going to swing around. But the first thing I did is go, well, Luke, what are you driven by? What's your purpose? And it came down to me understanding 3 things. One, I want to make people happy. So people and making people happy is a core value of FUNLOCKA. How you make people happy, the easiest way is understand them. Understand them not only from a work perspective, like where do you want to be in career or blah, 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 but understand them as a human. Yeah. I get sick and tired of people being classified into 2 areas, employees and customers. That's bullshit. You're a human first.
They're people.
You're people.
People.
They've got their own emotive state and desires. Too often companies just treat them as a number. It's got to stop, and it's got to stop because the next generation of people coming through don't value against that, and they'll leave your organisation and they'll leave you like that. They're not going to stay in your organisation if you don't appreciate them. Yeah. So understanding them, so people and passions. The 3rd pillar is around partners. That was my 19 years in radio, record labels, movie companies, sporting clubs, sporting codes, things that people are already a fan of in life. Yeah. So once I identified that north, I then thought, well, how do I make more people happy? And I looked at the employee reward and recognition market. And if I see another thing that says I'm going to get 10% off a gym membership or let's put yoga on in the lunchroom where only 2 people rock up, what I learned there is companies don't really understand the data around their people, around what triggers their emotive state. And that's when I started working out, well, what if I could personalize something? So then I surveyed 300 people in my community first, and I said, do you feel like you're getting the most out of life? And 70% of people said no. Two reasons. One is time. So work-life balance, work-life happiness, work-life harmony, work-life whatever you want to call it. Yeah, time is one thing that people want most. The second thing that people are struggling with is money. So especially families, right?
Exactly.
Once you pay for the food, the kid, the car, the mortgage, the dog, the first thing that goes in life are your luxuries that make you happy. So that's what I'm trying to instill here is allow companies to reward people based off the things that personally attract them.
That they want to enjoy.
Yeah. And that's how the data works in our back end to personalize that engagement. Like we get compared to Red Balloon 90% of the time because we've got really
the experiences.
Yeah. But I'd rather consider myself like a balloon animal. If you want a puppy dog, I'll make you a puppy dog because I'm personalized to you.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. That's awesome. So that's obviously that 3 months off work for you then. You've found that North Star.
It did.
know
Did
where
I
you're
did I know that I was going to start my own company then? No.
Potentially not.
No.
But the action of at least knowing where you don't want to go,
Yes.
and not going down that road,
Yes.
opens up the opportunity of all the other potential that you can go down, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Not just pushing down it because it's too scared to the unknown. If that, and I think that's what
I had to shift my mentality away from it being a salary
yeah,
to it being a vision
exactly
around where I wanted to be.
It's not about the money, and it's I think that's what at least held me back for quite some time.
Yeah,
Starting
right.
business is the unknown. It's
Yeah.
like the known is come to work, do my job, get paid, go home. That was what the cycle that I was in at that time. But it's that unknown space. It's like, oh no, it's easy just to go with the known, right? It's easy just to.
So totally easy. And I look at.
Well, it's not so easy, but
it's comfortable.
It's almost easier to do the grind than it is to deal with that unknown space of all the things that could go wrong, all right. Yeah.
Man, I've built a tech platform and I'm not a tech head. I'm a sole founder. Like this, the scar wounds that I have on my body now, based around like money scar wounds for the tech, not knowing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the flip side, thinking that you know
everything
as well, and then slowly learning that you don't. So many learnings, but I suppose we'll get into that.
You got to wear so many hats, right?
It is
hats to wear.
So many hats to wear, and still wearing so many hats, still being an early stage business.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, we've covered quitting a job to start a business, and that's that was obviously quite a challenging leap in itself.
100%.
Well, not even to start a business, to not be in a job. What are the other biggest challenges you've faced so far in terms of getting the business off the ground?
Yeah, well, like I said, I wasn't a tech person. So when I started to formulate the idea, the one thing I said, well, this is probably going to have to be a tech product, because if I want to personalize engagement, I have to be able to have a system or software or solution that companies can easily track data, and then what's the output, all that type of stuff. Being an ideas person, similar to yourself as well, I started to map a little bit of a thought process around how it could look. I started modeling myself a little bit more like Netflix than Red Balloon, because of the personalization of content. And so then I started looking at, well, how do I actually start this journey? And, I used to go to all the startup meets, and I used to put my hand up going, oh, what do you think about a sole founder who doesn't have a team? And everyone used to laugh at me, and they still laugh at me, right? Because
I can see that. I've heard that many times.
Yeah, and
you can't be a tech business without a tech CTO or even just being tech yourself.
Yeah, and you know what? I've learned the hard way that if you had that is the ideal scenario.
Obviously easier, right?
100%.
But what you miss with that is then you miss potentially structure and things like that.
Definitely.
It's always...
There's so many yin and yangs in it.
Yeah, exactly. Or creativity.
Correct. So then what I did is I then started to look at, well, I need to build something that at least gives me an opportunity to go show something in the marketplace. I wouldn't classify it as an MVP. I'd classify it more like a design flow of how I thought the app could look. So I could test, because FUNLOCKA is interesting. I've got a marketplace happening, right? Again, one of the hardest things that you can create. I've got a supply side, which are the people that upload experiences.
The double-sided marketplace.
Oh, yeah. It's a kill. I've actually got it's triple if you really drill down on it, right? So it's a anyway. So I've got my experience providers who upload experience. So that's my world. I've had that world for 19 years. So that's not a startup world.
Easy. Yep.
So we've now got over 220 plus experience providers, 350 plus experiences. Then on the other side, I've got the companies who actually pay for those experiences. And then I've got their users using the app. So there's 3 areas of control here. So what I did after I worked out what the user flow was is I just wanted it to bounce off a couple of people. I wanted to tell the story first. So I spoke to a lot of companies that I knew that would potentially like FUNLOCKA, just to get their interest. I got a validation there that they would utilize it. I then spoke to my experience providers who they treat us like Airbnb. They upload the experiences. We're another sales house for them. We don't charge them anything to be involved. We just want their great content on there so more people want to use it. So once I started validating that by building that basic user flow, which I spent, probably 5 to 10 grand on as such to build it right, I then went out in the marketplace to validate it first before I really properly committed. I then made the mistake of going, hey, look, I've got a shiny idea. Let's go raise some capital. And that didn't work. I just kicked so many
Is that
tires.
you mean you did the MVP?
It wasn't really a proper MVP. Like, it wasn't a working model, but it was a user design.
And in the idea phase.
Correct.
And then you went to VCs and you just got kicked back, was it?
Yeah, I went to everyone, and they go, "I love your idea, Luke. Yeah, big idea, mate. Big idea being a sole founder. But come back to us when you got some traction."
There's always the but, yeah.
And we hadn't built out the full platform yet, so I had to go through a full development process. Insert my mate again. Yeah, my mate Hodgie. I was speaking to him about it, and he just goes, "Dude, if you friggin' want this idea, back yourself.
Yeah,
That's going to show you the biggest thing." So then I sold an asset. I sold my house.
That's a big leap.
Yeah, it's a big leap. But I couldn't hold on to that leap either.
The vision was
because
so
I
strong.
still had a mortgage to pay.
Yeah.
So it was another hindrance.
Yeah.
But I held on to that asset for so long that I made good gains out of it. And someone said to me, they go, "Well, you know, are you going to live in this house forever?" No. Well, you made good gains on it. Maybe this is the reason why
That's it.
This is your chance to do
Good way
it.
of seeing it.
Yeah, it's a good way of seeing it.
Yeah.
So I sold the house just to ease money, cash flow, and secondary to invest in building the tech, and made a lot of mistakes.
Did you supplement your income getting it off the ground, like working part-time? Like
I did for a little bit where I was consulting, but I was getting myself dragged into the area that I hated.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I met an Uber driver the other day who runs a startup, and they're like, "Yeah, I just take 3 hours a day and drive around.
Yeah,
sell my idea to people in the car and bounce different ideas off.
Amazing.
It's like, you know, you have an audience there.
That is. You might as well use it.
And then it's supplementing income, right? Because it's hard to just lean on your company. Like, launched a business, cool. Where's my salary? It's like, well, you know.
Yeah. So look, we're generating a fair bit of revenue off bespoke experience creation. So like we're executing.
Well,
things.
now you're at that phase.
So now we're like, even though we've got 3 revenue streams, one is the full onboarding of the community. We've got a single membership offering for individual users inside a company. So if you're an EA or a sales director or a head of people and culture, and you just want access to our experiences without the full reward solution, you can just join. And then we've got Concierge, which is our bespoke solution. So a client can brief us on bespoke opportunities.
What they're looking for.
Yeah. And, that's everything from conferences to, One Cover Insurance are using us for a customer loyalty strategy at the moment where they're leveraging our experiences above the line. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So you've got the business, to a point where
and we started off with that, so I could supplement some of the salary based around that Concierge offering as the tech was getting built.
Yeah, what's it like been building a team? So
I've been very lucky.
You guys are pretty much remote, right? That's what I kind of noticed.
Yeah, we don't have a set location at the moment. Like my dev guys are out of WeWork. My head of experience, Jill Kovich, she's a godsend. She's the one that sources all the experiences. She's been part of my journey the whole time. She wasn't getting paid there for over a year. She's obviously got equity in the business,
of course,
for all that hard work and tenure. And now, we're now able to pay. But the team that I've got around me believe in the vision, man, and that's the
main thing.
That's the main thing. And we're still small. We're still only got like 5 people. A few of them are part time. So we're still in that early growth stage.
Yeah, and you see it getting a lot bigger, right? Obviously.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, of course. So. But we've got to be very mindful that we've got a limited cash amount, and until we sync a couple of the bigger client bases, which we're working on at the moment, we'll
nice.
grow as needed.
But you did end up raising a seed round, right?
Yeah, I did. But I had to prove the model first. It wasn't VC related. It was still very friends, family funds more than anything else. That's good though. It gives me a lot more flexibility on me following the vision because the person believes in me as well, where I'm not being dictated not dictated, that's the wrong word. But I'm not being forced my hand on certain situations.
Yeah, like they're kind of supporting you in that journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Not so much.
There's a disconnect there as well, where they're not necessarily skilled in the area that I require them either. So, I've had to build a sort of advisory pool around me that is only starting to form now of people that I can go to in the world that I'm in and lean upon at the moment.
Yeah, nice. So you said before, FUNLOCKA is built on 4 pillars. we heard the three before: people, passion, and partners.
Yes.
But now you have a fourth, the product, right?
Yeah, the product. So the product only came once I realised where my north was. That's where the idea came from in the product. Developing that product, that's where I've got most of my scar words. Obviously, not being that tech founder. My biggest mistake when we went through the development process, my biggest mistake was that I had a creative guy do my UX, not a UX specialist. So once we released the product the first time, we found that there was a lot of missing links there around user flow, and especially around the search functionality as well, where people could search for experiences and choose the experiences. I had to pretty much start again.
So you mean you had the design, but the interactiveness of it wasn't
flowing.
Yeah.
So I had a really good CTO.
Yeah.
It's just the guys that created the front facing UX didn't really think about all the nuances. It's such
a hard thing. It really is.
And I don't hold them accountable on that either, by the way, because they'll try their best for me as well. But
we've had it before. We've got devs in, and I think one of the hardest things is like tech guys or tech people just want to do the coding and get the systems built. The creative people want to design it, but it's that missing part that you might think you don't need, which is that
it's just about thinking about every situation
and how clicking buttons and it's the same for anyone building a web app or even e-commerce or retail. What's the experience when you come in a store?
Yeah,
it's nice to make it look good, but where's the flow? What's the checkout experience? That part I think is very important.
And those two need to work really well together.
Yeah. Especially for an experienced app.
Yeah, 100%. And there's tons of improvements that we still need to do, so we haven't got it perfect.
That's great.
Yeah. But the thing with what we've built is we're learning along the way around what users want. We're really surveying our corporates and their employees, and we're working out new ways that FUNLOCKA can potentially grow in the future, which will build new revenue streams in the business as well, which is awesome. Which doesn't change the product. It just allows us to be really flexible in how we're approaching it. And I feel like we've built it in a way that allows that flexibility without us having to hire multiple devs for it at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's it. It's looking at the balance between needing all these roles and then what can get you by. So not being MVP as in it's
I'm a visionary too, right? So I want to press go on a lot of things. My CTO is one of my is my handbrake. So is my CFO, my outsourced CFO, who's a really good mate of mine. They're both my handbrakes to stop me committing into stuff that I just don't need whilst I'm still building the base cash flow.
It's an interesting topic though. I mean, we did touch on that before, but being so visionary in a business,
it's tough.
It's like you kind of want to drive this way, but then suddenly it's that way, and I think you need those handbrakes, as you say.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, then you need an advisor or a mentor that gives you that as well.
Yeah. Again, if I look at how much money I've wasted on things because I'm a visionary versus where I should have really focused on, it's a TED talk on its own, mate. In all honesty.
Look forward to hearing that one.
It's got to be called 12 rounds of FUNLOCKA, right? And I'm going to come out in round 1 in a boxing ring. Yeah. I'm going to be peppy and all that type of stuff. And then by round 4, round 5, I've been beaten to the pulp.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens in startup. And then by round 12, I'm going to come out and go, yo, FUNLOCKA, like Adrian, you know what I mean? So it's going to be there. Just watch that story come out.
I think TED will like that. They want things different, right? They're always looking for that.
You can be my call card person coming out with round 1 if you want, maybe.
Yeah.
No.
So, recently we got this from an article recently you shared, getting yourself out of your comfort zone is where the real magic happens. This might be challenging yourself with a new role at work or business. So what's your advice for anyone looking to take a leap of faith and start their own venture?
Yeah, going to start a tech startup when you're not a tech founder and having a baby along the way, by the way, I had a little baby girl as well.
Why not just take it all at once?
Yeah, I sold my house and I did everything in the one go. That, if anyone is about to do that, I'll give you my number. Give me a call first before you commit. But, since starting my journey, I documented that journey from day one. I started doing video blogs around where I was at, and and what I was doing, and the amount of people that contacted me just from those first initial video blogs going.
How did you distribute the video blogs? Like
I just on LinkedIn and YouTube and my socials, right? I wanted.
So you had like a network of friends or partners and things
and
like that.
I wanted to put myself out there so I couldn't back down from my idea, because once you put your face to something in a credible area like LinkedIn where people are looking at you going, what are you doing next, Luke? It was quite confronting, but it held me accountable. But what I found out of the back of that wasn't just for me. I've had a lot of people in my world, in media in particular, who are also on the brink of wanting to see what's next in their career, contact me and go, Luke, I really respect what you're doing. I'd love to know where your headspace is and what you went through.
It gives them inspiration, right?
Not only inspiration, it gives them a sounding board. It's saying it's okay to talk about it. Don't hold it for yourself.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'd state answering your question is it's okay to chat to people. Yeah. If you feel like you're blocked and you don't know where you're going and what you're doing, be vocal about it. It's okay to be vulnerable, because when you start talking is when the real magic starts to happen. Bottling it in, or you're having 50 meetings a day and it's all in your head.
You're kind of holding the weight. No, I can hold this.
100%. It's all in here. You're having those conversations to yourself. It's best to get it out there and get perspective of people that you trust and know first and foremost.
So even if it, in your case, it was a vlog, you're just recording yourself.
It was a vlog, but I also, like, I'm not one to hold back in how I talk to everyone about everything, right? It's sharing that vulnerability, and it's harder for a lot of people to do so. But I would recommend, if you're struggling at a point in time right now and you're struggling to know where your next venture is, if it's moving up the organisation that you're in, if it's changing jobs, or if it's starting your own business, just start talking to your community more first. Then give yourself time to think. Like, if I look back, I was in that sales director role probably about 2 years too long, in all honesty, and I just did it because of the money. If I actually gave myself time to think, i.e. take the holidays that you're given in an organisation, take those 3-4 weeks off, right, to really stop and use that time.
Like, use it to think of how I could get
use it
out
to
of this.
Relax 100%, switch off, because you can't come up with what's next unless you do switch off. But I always encourage people that just look what's around you. You know, maybe start a little, if you've got an interest in something, start a little side hobby. Yeah, like, you know, do something that you love outside of work, because that might turn into something. It's a lot easier to turn a side hustle into a full-time career now than it was.
But generally, that side hustle is a passion
100%.
Coming out, and that's already a good sign. Like, if you're working on a side hustle or you're doing stuff after work, that's a greater calling.
And if I would have started the FUNLOCKA process and did it a little bit on the side while still earning a major salary, but knew that that's where that would have been my ideal scenario. I just reached a point.
You just didn't have the bandwidth at the time.
I didn't have the bandwidth. My mental state wasn't right. I was burnt out, and that's when I had to fully stop.
Yeah.
So that's the difference that I would say is don't necessarily think that you have to quit your job and do what I did. I'd highly recommend no one being able to get to that point. In their life.
It's funny because we've done many podcasts now, and it's always a mixed opinion. Some people say quit it because that will accelerate you forth, and you just get pushed into whatever you need to go into. Other people say play it safe, try to do the side hustle first.
It's got to be right for you.
Yeah, I think
you can't say either or.
Yeah, because
each person is different. There's so many different variables.
Yeah.
Like, I had every variable thrown at me, right? Like, I was about to get married. I didn't have a baby on the way then at that stage. I had a massive mortgage. I had all these types of things that were holding me back. The weights, I suppose. It was a real relief once I started making decisions. And I suppose that's the other thing, is just make a decision. Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong if you're doing something. It's those people that sit on that mouse wheel and complain.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have got the real problems.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like you sit there complaining about what you could be doing or what you're not doing, but it's if you just choose A or B,
it doesn't matter.
Either way, you get there. It's the action.
It's the action.
You'll be guided. Even if A was the direction you meant to take, you'll take B. You'll still come back to A. You're just going to go the long way around, which is fine.
It's fine. You're moving. Yeah.
It's sitting stagnant and not committing. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to start a business. I'm going to stick to my job. That's a decision. But quitting and starting a business. But it's the nothingness.
It's the nothingness. It's the complaining about it.
Yeah.
It's the complaining about it, then going home and watching 4 hours of TV,
to
still
pretend
complaining
like the
about
problem
it.
isn't there. Yeah.
It's like if you really want to make a change, you've got to get out of your comfort zone and you've got to start doing things and creating a hobby, not a hobby, creating a daily task or something that you just tick off.
The comfort zone is really facing your fears, right? It's facing the fear of like the unknown.
Yeah, not knowing,
And am I going to get paid? And what are people going to think of me starting a business? Like I know when I quit my job to start a business, it was like, no, like you're earning such a good salary. Why would you want to?
Well, the biggest ones that hold you back are your parents, in all honesty.
For sure. Yeah.
Like,
what do they think?
100%. And
have I failed them by not following this career journey?
Like my dad passed away when I was really young, so it was only mum and myself. And mum had to go into the I'm the only parent, so I must stay in my job and earn the money so I can look after my family, right? So total respect there. But with that comes the lack of ability to really understand around, well, you can also do something for yourself. And you can, and so that was probably the biggest area, is trying to battle the my mum and her thought process around, and it's old school.
It's
right?
generational.
It's generational
for sure. Yeah.
And trying to battle that was probably one of the biggest areas, because I don't want to let her down. You know, like she's put her blood, sweat, and tears to get me to this point.
Yeah.
And I'm not driven by her not letting her down. I'm driven by my own purpose.
I think it's the generational gap that causes that tension.
The friction.
It's like, you know, the previous generation, the one that my dad's from as well, is like, go to school, get a good job, get a house, get a wife, and kind of take that flow.
Yeah.
Or husband.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know, now and today, it's like anything is possible. It's like, if you want to start a business and you're 15, then go for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the younger generation is hustling for. The older one's still like, what's happening to the world right now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So it's all encompassing. It's all full on.
It's awesome though. So yeah, that's about getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
So I mean, in terms of then, you know, putting the tech challenges aside, putting, you know, employee engagement aside, where do you see the biggest success in the business has been, or what's making you most happiest in running this business?
Yeah, so the business is already evolving. So we started out as business to employee as a real focus point.
Yeah.
And that doesn't change, by the way. But that was our good test validation market on our product. Where we're seeing the biggest growth is talking to companies now about, well, what is your human connection? Yeah, what is your business to employee strategy? What's your business to customer strategy? What's your how are you flowing that seamlessly across both? And how does FUNLOCKA play a role in each one of those steps? So we're moving away from just being a business to employee to what I said at the start. Everyone is a human being. So our biggest uptake at the moment is talking to companies about their full circle around how do they attract, excite, engage, understand, reward, and hopefully retain the people that matter most, which are both employees and customers, and doing it as a one strategy process. We're not the silver bullet there, but we can make better decisions if you know better data around what people are emotionally connected to impact that person. And so that's where I'm getting really excited by, because it's actually living what I set out to do. And that is to impact human happiness or people's happiness, no matter if you're an employee or customer.
So that's your North Star, obviously. So you would define that as your definition for success. Like, you know, where's success lie? Is that people are happy, our clients are happy.
People are happy. They're doing more things in life that they love.
Yeah.
It creates positive water cooler chat and positive barbecue chat with their friends around what FUNLOCKA is and the business that has given them access to FUNLOCKA. You know,
well, it's interesting because it's not even fun. It's FUNLOCKA, but then it's also like the company I'm working for gave me this experience, and it's so awesome to work there because we get to do these things.
Well, you think about it, right? Like companies. Unfortunately, we're a lazy generation, right? We always look for the lazy output, you know. And there's nothing wrong with gift cards, etc. I love a gift card. I still love a gift card. In fact, we've got some gift cards on the platform. But your gift card is thankful for the moment. Where you get handed a gift card, you put it in your wallet, and you go, "Thank you." Yeah, an experience.
Think about Christmas time.
Yeah,
you know, someone gives you a gift card, it sits on the bookshelf for
Yeah, it
6
expires
months
and then you
until
don't
it
even
expires,
use it.
and then you're like, damn.
That's right. But in experience, if they know that I want to stand on the field with my favourite footy team,
yeah,
that's shit you share.
Yeah,
yeah. That
for sure. Take photos of it.
Take photos of it. Thank people about it.
Yeah.
Like that is those moments that create memories. It's not just a moment from here's a gift. You know what I mean? And that's where the point of difference.
And that's
lies.
obviously what FUNLOCKA is solving, because it's trying to find, as you said, what's unique for that individual.
That's
what
right.
They want to achieve.
Yep.
Love it. Love that idea. So how do you keep grounded as a founder? I mean, you mentioned meditation before.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Like I look at when I went through what I did with Burnout, I only just thought about this the other day, and I'm going to share it with people. But my wife and I sat down, my then fiance at that time sat down, and we wrote a list of what my red flags are. You know, those things that if I get caught in this point, if I get caught in that point, if I get caught in that point, these are my red flags that I need to know. I need to make a change. Some of those red flags are still there right now. Again, I've got my vision and purpose, and my wife is backing me on that. But it's things that I'm mentally aware of that could lead to me going down the wrong path again if I ever lose that purpose and vision.
What are those red flags out of
it's
interest?
Not spending enough time with family.
You mean, so if you're not spending enough time with family, that's a red flag that you've lost the vision of the business?
No. It's just a red flag that I'm not living a balanced lifestyle.
Okay, good point. Yeah.
It's about, and I don't like balance because everything needs to work in harmony.
Yeah,
right.
You mentioned that in an article.
Yeah, it needs to work better together than it does calling it a balance, because it means one's better than the other, and it shouldn't be that. Everything needs to work in unison, and that's why I think right now, even though that is a bit of a red flag, that I wish I could spend more time with my family. There's obviously business things that I need to solve as well.
Yeah,
but it's more about, again, it's more about being in the moment when you're with your family. You're not on your phone or whatever it is.
Taken away. Yeah,
there's nuances to each one of those. So the red flags are short with people, which I can be. What are some of the other red flags? Like blood pressure's high. I had high blood pressure when I was sales director. It's funny, I had high blood pressure when I was a sales director in a media organisation. I don't have high blood pressure now, even though I'm working twice as hard.
Because it's not stress. It's
really, I find that really interesting.
It's healthy.
Well, hopefully it's healthy. Yeah. So we have a list. It's probably about 10 deep.
Wow.
Of all my red flags, and when I say balance now, it's about being in the moment more, and that's what I'm trying to achieve. So yes, I try and get up every morning, and majority of the time I do, and I do a bit of meditation, to start the day, because at least then I start the day with me. You know what I mean?
Your space,
my
time,
space.
Get the head right.
The other thing that I'm trying to do, which I'm not achieving right now, is just finishing at a certain time, because once I get over 9:30 p.m. and I know a lot of founders work until 1.
Agreed.
My brain doesn't stop. If I don't stop at 9:30, my brain will keep on working all the way through till I wake up the next morning.
Yeah.
It's full on. It doesn't stop.
I agree. You start dreaming about your business, and it's not.
I'm having arguments with myself. I've sacked myself 4 times in my dream. Anyway, so it's those types of things there that it's about being in the moment. I spend between 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. with my little girl, Tilly, bathing and family time. So I try and do that as often as I can as well. So it's just more segmenting the day and being in the moment more, I think, is where my harmony lives.
Routine for balance.
Yeah.
So just on that point, meditation, because that comes up a lot and it's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Do you find that's pinnacle for you, or is it just something that you kind of just put into the mix?
No,
like if you don't meditate for a week, I can
see my levels being agitated and all the rest of it. It needs to be there as a grounding tool, and needs to form a part of the habitual state. I would like to do it more, and I probably should do it more. Like doing it in the morning is great, but I should find those little periods throughout the day, or just even throughout the day, just to take 10 minutes to stop.
Yeah,
my diary's back to back.
Yeah,
like it's I'm the sales guy, the operations guy, the tech, the product guy. The only thing that I'm not really is the experienced person, because I've got someone in that, but everything else, all the strategy, thoughts and processes happen up here.
So what advice would you give to someone looking to start a business? They've got this idea, maybe they've been running a side hustle, maybe they haven't, and they just want to kind of take the leap into, doing that?
Make sure it's truly you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, not everyone is made out to be a entrepreneur. Yeah, you can learn the skills, don't get me wrong, but it's a hard hustle. Yeah. You have to make sure it's intrinsically linked. This is where I'm going with it. Make sure it's intrinsically linked with your purpose first and your vision. Don't just do it for money. If you're doing it for money, I very rarely think that you're going to succeed, and you're more likely going to, if it becomes too hard, you're more likely going to give it up and find something else for money. But if it's driven by your purpose and your vision, and you understand your north on why you want to do this and what legacy you want to leave, that's going to hold you into that, and it'll allow you to, when the hard times are there, to know that you've got something to strive for. Because the other way, if you're doing it for a cash grab,
when the cash isn't there, then
when the cash isn't there, you're going to easily skip over to something else. When if you just be persistent and patient with what you're doing and know it's part of the process, but you're doing it for your purpose. Sorry, a lot of P's in one thing. Sorry if I sputtered over you.
You got the 4 P's.
Yeah, it's always P's with me, man. But if you don't know that end result, that purpose part, it's harder to hold on to. So understand that first before you do any major jump.
I think that's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah.
Don't do it for the money, which you hear all too often, but then people still go out and do it.
You might be lucky, right? You might be able to do it for money, and you're one of those miracle people that you can get in, get out quickly, and all that type of stuff.
I sometimes think that doing it for the money is not the worst thing, as long as there's a bigger vision at play. It's like, I'm going to build this business for the money, get the money, and then you realize, maybe the money isn't that fulfilling, but then you can use that to propel into another business.
Yeah,
so there's so many ways to get there.
Each to their own, but like if I'm looking on my one, it's about understanding your purpose first.
If you can get the deeper purpose, definitely, then you're more committed to that.
You're just more committed to it, and it's not just driven by money. There's a different result at the end of it. Yeah. That makes you feel like you're achieving. Because if you're just achieving around money, you've got those peaks and troughs. Yeah. So if the money's not
the roller coaster,
whilst if you know where your purpose is, it's, even though that roller coaster happens every hour of the day when you're an entrepreneur, you know that you know where the end result's going to be. Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah, love it. So, what's the future of FUNLOCKA then? Where are you guys heading?
Very much focus around that whole community stack. So I don't think we'll ever go just directly to consumer, even though our model is B2B to get to C. Who knows? I don't know, man. Like, in all honesty, there's a vision part of me that I want to see fulfilled, making more people happy. There's a vision of the product where I want it to go. That's what I want to see happen. If I can meet those two at the same time, then hopefully we're having a different conversation next time, and it's something now where I can share more around the full scope around where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do with the business.
Yeah, love it. Well, good luck with it all.
Thank you, man. Really good to chat.
It's been great having you on the show. And going to keep track of this and maybe even use FUNLOCKA at EasyCompanies. So,
awesome.
Yeah, great.
Glad I could sell you in on the podcast. Amazing.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, mate.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Also, if you haven't already, check out our YouTube channel. It's available under the EasyCompanies account, and there'll be a 9 to Survive playlist. So I hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you next time.